This video is about men's mental health. That doesn't mean it's not relevant to women. It means I'm a man and I'm sharing my experiences. Plus, men's mental health, I don't know, it just feels like it gets overlooked a little bit more and there's a bit more of a stigma surrounding it. So we're going to tackle that specifically, and if you're a female, I hope this helped. Mental health for years has been overlooked and disregarded, to the point where, 50 years ago they just told you were crazy. In reality, mental health is probably more important than physical health, because if it takes a turn for the worst, that can be the end. I've suffered from depression for almost 3 years now. I've got twin girls, aged 2.5, and I work for myself. I own a CrossFit and weightlifting brand called Mergs, and we sell CrossFit and weightlifting equipment. At the peak of the depression, meaning the worst, I was working no more than 20 hours a month. A month? Not a week, a month. 5 hours a week. I was doing the absolute bare minimum to keep this business in business. And I am so fortunate that it's still here. Only in the last 3 months do I feel back to me. It's been a long journey to get here, and it's awful. But you can do it. And that's the point of today's video. Currently, I take 60 milligrams of fluoxetine, known in the US as Prozac. It's an antidepressant, and it also helps with the treatment of OCD, which I only found out I had since taking fluoxetine. I've tried 3 different antidepressants now, maybe 4. 3, over the last 6 to 8 months, and the only major side effect to fluoxetine is when I took it in the morning, I'd get this weird anxiety to where I couldn't do a lot till like 2 p.m. The only problem with fluoxetine is it is not a stimulant literally, but most antidepressants are a bit of a downer. They just sort of take the edge off. This is one that's apparently energizing. I don't know enough about it to know what that means, so it's recommended to take it in the morning. I swapped that and take it on an evening, so the only major side effect I have is insomnia. That is also cured by promethazine. So yeah, more tablets. When it was at its worst, the depression was really bad. I've ridden my motorbike over bridges just to take a look. Wished I went to sleep some nights and slept forever. Yeah, it was bad, but I feel like I made it, and I feel like you can. All it takes is just identifying it's a problem and making a start. I've never made any progress towards these things, but I've thought about them too much, and they turn into these weird fantasies where you're like, that sounds nice, just to go to sleep forever. In reality, that's horrendous. And I can only say that because I've lived through it, and it is. It's awful. But I'm telling you this because there's no reason to be ashamed or embarrassed about your mental health. Absolutely not one bit at all. Imagine if a friend of yours came to you and they said, right, John, I've started going to the gym. Do you know what my response would be? That's fantastic. Good for you. You're going to love it. Or somebody comes and they're like, right, I've enlisted in an online course. I'm going to learn about nutrition. I'd be like, wow, some self-improvement. Oh man, you're crushing it. So why would anybody have any different of a response when you said, I'm really struggling mentally. I think I'm going a bit mental. Because that's what I did. And it's a long process, but there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Mental health problems are not a sign of weakness. That gets me. It grinds my gears. Why would you even think that? There's lots of people out there that think they're better than that. And I don't get it, because we all struggle with this. That's what I've learned. Everybody struggles with this. People just hide it in different ways. I hide it remarkably well. To the point where if you met me 12 months ago and I didn't want you to know, you would have no idea. My wife, Lucy, she knew. Not to the extent at that point, but still, she was aware that I was a bit down and, struggling. But to everybody else, and it weren't even lying. It's not like I'd go out and be like, right, I need to pretend to be happy. No, I'd convince myself, I'm like, this is me, I am happy. And then later, it had cost me. I'd pay for it in the evenings where I just couldn't get out of bed, or in the morning where I just didn't want to go to work. There was a lot of energy put into that effort that all needed to be recharged later on. Imagine if you broke your arm. You wouldn't attempt to fix that on your own, right? You'd go to the hospital or A&E, which is our urgent care. You'd go there and they'd put a pot on it and they'd strap it up. What if your car broke down? You've just got smoke pissing out the engine. What would you do? You won't go home and start pulling it in bits and be like, well, I hope I can find something that looks broken. No, you'd go to a mechanic. So why with your own mental health do we all sit back and pretend it's okay and be like, I'll figure it out? And the reason I can say that is because I did that for 2.5 years. I was like, no, I'll get this under wraps. I'll get it sorted. It's not me. It's my circumstances. It's the kids. You've got two, at that time, like 1-year-old twin girls. That's a lot. And I'd quit my job. I'd left my job in engineering about 2 years ago to run Mercs full time. So I was doing that as well. And I thought, this is just stress. Turns out when you walk into Sainsbury's, which is just a supermarket of ours, when you have cold sweats, you start running out of breath and go pale. That's known as a panic attack. For years, I was like, wow, this stress is coming on intense. Turns out, not stress. I'm having really severe symptoms because I didn't know what I was looking for. And it was worse than I realised for a long time. I take antidepressants daily. I take tablets on a night to help me sleep. I take another tablet when I'm having a panic attack, and I go to therapy once a week. And I look at all that and think, why would anyone be embarrassed about that? If you knew somebody that was improving their physical health in such a way, they take the vitamins every morning, they're eating their protein goals every day, they train 5 times a week, and they may get a massage once a week, you'd be like, wow, you are taking a better you seriously. Gee, you're really putting some effort in. Well done. So why is it different with your mental health? The only way we can lift the stigma on mental health is to start talking about it and normalise it. That's literally it. I'm not saying hop on Facebook and slap on a new status saying having a really hard time, anybody know any bridges? No, let's be reasonable. Start with people that you know and trust. That's the best way to start. Family members. My mum has been so supportive. My wife's family. They've been wonderful. And people can't help you if they don't know. Nobody knew about me. Nobody. One person did, my wife. She knew. Nobody else knew until I let them know. And then when I let them know, they were like, oh my God, I can't believe you've never mentioned that. How can we help? And at that point, it was the only time I felt silly because I was like, wow, I should have mentioned this sooner. But you don't think like that when you're feeling your worst. Getting help for this has been the single most important thing in my life. Because if I didn't get help, you might not be watching this video. Which even now, as somebody that's feeling a little bit better, just feels alien. You just think, oh my God, what? I can't even imagine the mental space where I thought not being here was my best option. It's just chaos. You only get one shot at this crazy experience we call life, and it doesn't need ending any sooner. Don't leave the party earlier. You're going to leave the party at one day, and that will be the world deciding that, yep, goodbye. Don't make that any sooner. Because it's a really, really permanent solution to what I've realised is a temporary problem. And temporary doesn't mean like temporary traffic lights. I'm not talking about 15 minutes. This might be a year. This could be a 5-year ordeal. But out of 70, no big deal, right? It's not. Five. If you had £70 and I said, can I have 5? You'd be like, yeah. And you wouldn't notice it had gone. Not really. It's not much. Or I just take it all. I take all your money. And now there's nothing. And just emptiness. Don't do that. It's right. So let's assume you're not feeling great. Where do we start? Where did I start? That's the only thing I can tell you. I can tell you what worked and what didn't work, but I can't tell you what you can do. I started off by just telling my wife. That was it. And even then I couldn't do it face to face. I told her over text. I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to. But when you send a text, you can put your phone down and walk away. Like, make a big long-winded text, answer any questions they may have. Don't send a text saying, I'm feeling awful. What does that mean? Have you got flu? Did you eat some raw chicken? Like, what do you mean you're feeling awful? Did you fall over? No. Make it obvious so nobody can miss the point you're trying to make. And whoever you send that to, if they're of any importance in your life, they will respond so positively, you don't believe how good that is. It's massive. And it feels like such a weight lifted. Oh, I felt better for like a couple of days, being like, wow, I've shared it. I started a series vlogging back in May where I was going to walk 10,000 steps every day for the month of May. Turns out, didn't do it. Got to like the 28th day and it was just raining and raining and raining and raining. And I was just in a place where I was like, nah, You know, I got to 28 vlogs in 28 days talking about things like this. And that was just my accountability to keep going and to share. And I just shared really openly. I'm not saying you need to tell anyone other than people that you know. But you do need to tell a doctor. That's one thing that's for real. Talk to a doctor or talk to a therapist. I'll be honest, therapy and the medicine go hand in hand. That's what I've found. I found the medicine did like 3/4, and then the therapies come in just at the end just to top it up. And I love the therapy. You think therapy like you sat in a chair with some old man wearing a coat and some beady glasses talking to you, asking you questions. No, you're just chatting about your circumstances and how you feel and how things are going. And I've done a lot of deep self-reflection, looking into me really deep and why I do certain things. And that's how I uncovered a lot of the OCD and a lot of things about me. And I'm like, wow, I never knew this. I'm 29. You think you know yourself until you go to therapy and you start working through some stuff and you're like, wow, that's why I do that. It's fascinating. I really enjoy it. Not even like, yeah, I get through it. No, I actively look forward to it. It's great. But yes, I recommend contacting a doctor, trying some medication. There's some people out there that are like, you won't get me eating antidepressants. Why? I've never heard one genuine reason why. Because people say stupid stuff like, oh, you don't know what they do to you. They make you feel better. That's like not taking paracetamol when you've got a headache. What's wrong with you? Drugs work. Like, it infuriates me to hear people not use the solution that they've got. You know, especially if you've been prescribed some tablets. Just take the fucking tablets. It's not much. It's literally a 3-second task once a day. That's it. And don't come off them. You're not an expert. I promise. Stick at it. You've just got to stick at it. These tablets are not the type of tablets they're not happy pills. You don't just take one and feel better. No, these tablets can take months to build up in your system. Imagine a sponge and you're trying to fill it with water and you've got one of those little droppers and you're just putting one drop on at a time. How many drops till the sponge is full? I don't know, like 200? That's the exact same thing. But if you were to pour a bucket of water onto the sponge, you would miss a lot of the sponge and that water would damage other things. So that's why we can't take massive doses and you've got to slowly titrate up over time. So yeah, don't be one of those that refuses to seek help, because it's stupid. And it drives me mental. It really does. Anyway. But no, if you were in limbo, if you're feeling not the best, I did this for a long time. This is another point that I've just remembered. I used to feel like my problems weren't bad enough. I was like, what do you mean? My problems aren't real problems. Yeah, I've got twin girls, okay, but there's people with 3. Yeah, I run my own business, but it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's not that bad. No, it turns out your situation is unique to only you, because there's not one person on earth that runs Mergs, that's in my position, that lives here, that has twin girls, that's married my wife, that has their family. Like, your circumstance is completely unique, and nobody's ever dealt with what you're dealing with. Plus, things are not comparable. You can't say, oh yeah, well, your problems are not a big deal. Look at Elon Musk. He's probably got big problems. Elon Musk is unrelated to me and my circumstance. What's that got to do with anything? Look at yourself as an individual. You're not a group. You are only you. Go and get some help. The sooner you do, the sooner you'll feel better. And it's the single best thing I've done in my entire life. And I don't regret any of it. In fact, the only thing I regret is not starting sooner. I feel like a fool for not diving into this sooner, because the business would be doing better, I'd be happier, the kids would be doing better because I'd be doing better. Like, yeah, the only thing is just do it sooner. Another thing, this is one area of weakness, diet, terrible. So that's something I'm working on. Diet's really important. So is fitness and exercise, and I don't do any of that either. I don't do any of that. I do drink plenty of water, so stay hydrated. So yeah, final words. Go get help. I did. And it worked. Anyway, I'm going to get back to work and try and do something productive. I hope this helped at least one person. And if anybody needs me personally, like literally me, if you want to shoot me an email, contact@mergs.co.uk. Nobody else views that inbox. There's only me. There's no one else at Mergs. That is my email address. You could send me one to john@mergs.co.uk, but I just don't check that as frequently. I use contact@mergs. So if you want to talk, shoot me a text or an email, or because Yeah, man, whatever I can do to help. Anyway, have a great day.